If you look behind me, you'll see a silver plaque. That's for 100,000 subscribers. That's for Gray Furnace Man, not for electric car. Would you please subscribe so I can get another one of them things? Thank you. When you buy a Tesla, you get what they call a mobile charging whatever. It comes with a 120 volt outlet that you can charge with. Now they kind of intimate that you should buy the wall charger because it will charge at a faster rate than you can with the mobile connector. And mobile, I guess, means, you know, you take it with you when you go someplace. Most people don't do that. They just put the mobile connector, use it to charge. Its limitation is it'll only charge at 30 amps instead of a maximum of 48, depending on the vehicle you have. Because you only get the one plug, and you can, you know, the mobile connector, you can pull the plugs off of it, and you can put different plugs in it, and the plugs will charge it at different rates depending on which plug you have. Like if it's the 120 volt 515 plug that comes with the car, then that is going to charge at about 3 miles per hour or about 12 amps. It's pretty low. Now you can buy a little kit that has 7 more connectors in it that you can hook up to that mobile connector. The idea, I guess, being that you'd if you're traveling somewhere and you wanted to charge it at someone's house or something, maybe they have a dryer and you could plug it into the dryer, you know, something like that. This would have plugs for all those things. It's probably pretty unusual that you're going to do something like that. I generally I use the superchargers. And back when I had the Bolt, I used the DC fast chargers when I was taking a longer trip. So I didn't use it much. But I thought I should just kind of talk about what these plugs are, because they're all different. And they're made for different things, or for different outlets. They'll go up to 50 amps. Okay. The first one, the 515, you don't get that in the kit because it already comes with the car. And that one, like I said, it'll do 3 or 4 miles an hour charging the car. I generally, well, how I set it up in my garage was I actually put a 20 amp outlet in there. Just because you don't want to overload the outlet. It's on for very, very long periods of time, 2-3 days sometimes. It'll be on there if your charge is low, and that there could be heat buildup in the system. So anyway, that's how I do it. Well, if you buy the kit, by the way, the kit's about $220. If you buy the kit, you also get a 20 amp 120 volt outlet, and that puts in about 18 amps, and it'll charge at maybe 4 miles an hour, something like that. And the next one is a 15 amp 240 volt. Now that's going to give you quite a bit more power. That's a 615, and it'll charge at about 7 miles an hour. Not a whole lot there either, but it has a different set of plugs that'll fit a 240 volt 15 amp outlet. Pretty unusual outlet. These are all North American outlets. That's the only thing I know anything about. So then there's another one that is 20 amp and 240 volt, so it's 5 amps more. That is the 620, and it'll charge at about 11 miles per hour. Again, a pretty unusual outlet. You're probably not going to find many of those. Okay, now we're getting to ones that are actually useful. There's the 30 amp 240 volt. That is the 1030. Now the 1030, it will charge about 17 miles an hour. That's your standard dryer outlet that you see a lot of, that you could plug that in to the same place as the dryer. And by the way, the mobile charger works with either 240 volt or 110. Doesn't make any difference. Whatever one of those two voltages are put in, it will just adapt to it. So that's going to be one that's probably a little more common. Now there's another one that's also 30 amps. It's 30 amps, 125, 240 volt. It has both 120 volts and it has 240 volts, and it's 30 amp. That is the 1430. The 1430 will charge at about 17 miles per hour. Now, I do have to say I'm taking this off the Tesla website. I don't agree with all these things. I'll talk a little bit more about it a little later. But the difference in this one is it actually has 4 outlets in it, or 4 prongs. There's a neutral. You're not going to use the neutral. The neutral doesn't have any use with these cars, and it doesn't use the neutral. But the plug will fit in the outlet, so that's what you're looking for. And then we get into the bigger stuff. 50 amp 240. Now that's a 650. It is a 240. There's no 125. There's no neutral in this one. It's capable of 23 miles an hour. That's a fairly common one you'll see. You don't need the 50 amps. In fact, it can't use the 50 amps, but it doesn't hurt anything. And the last one that comes in a kit is a 50 amp 240 with the neutral, and that's got 4 prongs again. So that's a 50 amp outlet. It's the 1450. It'll do 23 miles per hour. You've got this kit full of these things, and they're all fine, except you're probably never going to use the vast majority of those things. Most people use the mobile connector as their charger at home. It isn't what they just leave in the car. And I've got one out there. It's got a 1450 in it, plug in it, and I use it all the time. It's only using 30 amps because it's the mobile connectors at the max, but I've hooked up to 50 anyway. I had a 50 amp circuit there, so I used that plug. So I just bought the one. Instead of buying all these things, they're $35 a piece, or they're $220 for the kit with a little bag. If you want the entire kit, I can guarantee the vast majority of those you'll never use. You probably use 1 or 2 of them. I don't know that they're a great value. But you may buy one to fit an outlet you have in your home. That's pretty much the way I would do it. I don't see a lot of value in, having all these plugs that you're going to fit in some neighbor's, or your friend or someone's place when you've left home. So I don't see a lot of value in it, but that's what all those plugs are for. And I notice that mine actually puts out a little higher miles per hour than they say, 1 or 2 miles per hour higher in with these 30 amp plugs. So I think it probably does a little better than you say, at least according to the car. It says 24 miles per hour that it's putting in there. If you want to buy the kit, I guess it's great. I don't think it's a terribly huge value, but I just kind of wanted to explain what all those plugs were for, and what amperage and stuff they would use. That's it on this one.